Good day, everybody. It's Michael Levitis with Gregory Spektor, an attorney, a founding member, a partner in Gregory Spektor and Associates, a personal injury law firm that deals with car accidents, construction accidents, and slip and falls. Gregory, welcome back to our program. You're always very good explaining everything from top to bottom, making it very accessible and basic. And today we're going to continue with the basics of a car accident, how to get compensated, what's involved, how to make a claim, and all that. So I want to ask you today, people are a little bit confused. Let's say you're riding as a passenger in some car and your friend is the driver, you get into a car accident. Who exactly are you suing? What parties? Can you please talk about that?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
And when we talk about, who are you suing? I'm sure many attorneys are asked that question by relatives, by friends. Can I sue this person? Can I sue that person? The answer is always yes.
Right.
The country that we live in is pretty much everybody can sue anyone. Now, the potential success of the outcome is what needs to be considered more importantly.
Right.
So when we're nowadays, when there's a car accident, there are many potential defendants.
Okay.
And that is why it's important to have a knowledgeable, experienced attorney, because things change. For example, lately we've got all these rideshare apps like Uber, Lyft, and so on and so forth.
It gets complicated.
It gets complicated. And you know what? The funny thing is the layers of insurance. I don't even think they understand how many different layers of insurance they have, because they have Uber and then they have Razier, and they have this very complicated corporate structure with all those layers having their own level.
Well, they're trying to protect themselves, and it's your job to unravel that and represent the client that got injured.
That is why, that's why we're licensed professionals, because we will assume responsibility for missing an important defendant. Because every time you're not naming someone, you're potentially missing on millions of dollars.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. You are a passenger in a car. Would you rather it be your friend's car or an Uber car? A hypothetical.
And the answer will be a very typical lawyer's answer. It depends. Some friends might have, huge umbrella policy with $5 million protection, and some friends can have the minimum of $25,000 policy, which is,
and by the way,
in the state of New York.
It's important, I think, to state when you say you're going to sue your friend, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not as if, yes, you're naming your friend as a defendant in the court documents, but in reality, who's going to pay? It's not going to be your friend who's going to pay for your damages. It's going to be their insurance company, correct?
Right. And again, let's go back to the basic. What's a lawsuit? Lawsuit starts with us filing what's called a Simonson Complaint, in which you name all potential defendants. Some of those defendants may not need to stay there. Again, if it's a rear end collision, let's say somebody hits you in the rear, but you still want to name the driver of the car that you were in, just in case the other driver will allege that this car stopped short.
Okay,
it may not happen, but at that level of the process, allegation is enough. Right? Allegation is enough. So you want to name all potential defendants, and a lot of times it could be your friend, it could be the other driver, and then it goes up through vicarious liability to the owners and the registers of that vehicle. They could be different from the driver. It could be a company, it could be a corporation, it could be a family member. Then
one second. So I just want to pinpoint this. If a family member, so you're saying to me, I'm going to ask you a stupid question. Let's say you are driving and your son is in the car, you get into a car accident, your son can potentially sue you as well, correct? Even though your family live in one household?
Yeah. Again, anyone can sue. Now, there's potentially only one potential, limit there is a husband and wife because of the spousal privilege. That might be an issue. And some insurance companies specifically talk about that. You may have a spousal privilege exception so that you can still go ahead and sue them, and some not. But again, you're absolutely right. Whenever you name, whoever you name as a defendant, in reality, it's not going to be that person who will be defending and paying.
Actually paying out of pocket.
Once you name that person, then the insurance company steps in the shoes, as they say, of that person.
I see.
And they provide the defense, they provide indemnification, which is the actual payment for a claim that you made. There's one exception to that is sometimes, let's say you get hit by a vehicle with 25,000 or even 100,000, some small coverage, and you sustain injuries exceeding that coverage by far. Millions of dollars in damages to the body. All right. In case you have what's called UIM coverage that exceeds that insurance, UIM is underinsured motorist protection. Most insurances, not most, all insurances provide that. It may be a little bit extra in your monthly premium payments, but it's well worth it. I mean, we're talking maybe a couple of $100 a year.
Right, worth it.
But you can increase that to be something significant, from $250,000 up to $5 million, whatever you want to go. But that gives you then an opportunity to actually sue the insurance company. So what happens then? Let's say you get hit by a vehicle with lower insurance coverage, and your damages are estimated to be in the millions of dollars. And let's say you do have a $2 million UIM policy, right? Of course, when you tell them, listen, I have injuries worth $2 million, they will say, oh no, we're not paying that. And in that particular scenario, when you file a UIM action in court, you are actually naming the insurance company as a defendant. And we love doing that because not that often, because in regular lawsuit, when you're naming a person and insurance company stands in the shoes of the person, if you say a word insurance during trial, it's going to be declared a mistrial, because jury is not supposed to know that the insurance company is providing, defending, and paying for that.
Because then they're going to know there's deep pockets involved.
Now, with the UIM action, we're actually putting Geico and Liberty Mutual and all those big guys, putting them on the stand. And that is, of course, a lot, more favorable disposition with the jury, because between you and me, I don't know that many people who love insurance companies.
Right.
We all have to pay them. And at the end of the day, whenever there's a claim, they're not that quick to pay us back.
Right.
But in that case, the cause of action is no longer a bodily injury, but it becomes a breach of contract. Because I'm saying, okay, here's the contract where you said that you will provide underinsured coverage for me if I sustain injuries that are in excess of the available policy of the other driver, and you're not paying. Therefore, it's a breach of contract. You get a better statute of limitation because of breach of contract. You can bring that action within 6 years as opposed to 3 years for personal injury. And you get to depose, vice presidents of Geico, big shots, because whenever you sue a company, the standard provided by CPLR for deposing a defendant, you're entitled to depose someone with the full knowledge of the corporation. So you get to depose somebody, and let's say you want to ask them questions as to what are their practices in paying out on those UIM claims. And the person says, I don't know. Next, I need someone who will know. I need somebody with the full knowledge of the corporation. And yes, sometimes just that alone, because it's much more of a burden on the insurance company, just that alone, that makes those claims a lot quicker to process, and they don't like them. Great
advice here is, if you're available, buy this UM coverage. It's
UIM. Sometimes
underinsured motorist. Right?
Sometimes they call them supplemented.
And you love that. If you see that on the other side, you love that.
it's usually on your side. Yes, it makes your life a lot easier.
Great instrument.
Makes your life a lot easier. Yeah. But going
Gregory,
back to sorry, go ahead.
So from what I gather here, the best seat to be in is if you get hit, is in the passenger seat, because then you can sue the driver, you can sue the other driver, you can possibly sue the owner of the car, even though, let's say, the other driver is not the owner. You can sue the owner of the car. There are multiple people, insurance companies that could provide compensation. And I want to segue this into a next question. If you get hit by a commercial vehicle, let's say you get hit by some kind of truck, delivery truck, what have you, what happens then? Who are you suing?
Sure. So anytime there is an owner that is different from the driver, you get to go through what's called vicarious liability.
Okay.
So the owner of the corporation or a family member, like we said, they're vicariously liable.
Gotcha.
Now, there's a lot of litigation nowadays as to Uber and Lyft, because there's still a lot of technicalities that are not worked out as to whether or not they're drivers or their employees. And therefore, they're trying to make a motion to dismiss all vicarious liability claims. Well, we found a way around that. We are always claiming that besides vicarious liability, there are also independent claims against them, which are negligent hiring, negligent entrustment.
Okay.
For example, I mean, in order to keep them, again, in the lawsuit at the very first stage, allegation is enough. Then we'll go through discovery and find whether or not we find enough meat to support that allegation. But allegation is enough. And it's very important to name them independently outside of vicarious liability. Because then, once we go through discovery, you know how many times we're able to get those, that complaint log, where you're not happy with your driver and you say, oh my God, he was speeding, or he dropped me off in the middle of the street. And then it becomes very relevant. Because
it shows negligence.
Uber as corporation disregarded that.
Wow.
And that what makes them responsible for negligent entrustment.
Very interesting.
For negligent hiring.
So when you get hit, God forbid, by a commercial vehicle, there are many more now avenues for you to get compensated, because like you said, maybe the person driving was negligent, the company negligent hiring this person, they probably have deep pockets as a big company. So definitely something to consider if you get injured in a car accident involving a commercial vehicle. And same goes for taxis and Uber, same thinking.
Right now, I think just last week, we're talking about New York City, right? I just want to make sure that it only applies to New York. I think last week they reached some kind of a settlement agreement. Okay. Whereas by the terms of that settlement agreement, Uber now is required to make taxi drivers available in their application. Okay. In other words, when you order an Uber, you may not know it, but a taxi might show up. I didn't see that start happening yet. I see. Interesting. Okay. Right. And if that becomes, if at that point, if that taxi becomes part of Uber sharing app, then basically what we just talked about will apply. A regular yellow cab on its own, I'm not going to lie, they have horrible insurance. They have only $100,000 usually provided by American Transit, which will not pay. They will wait until jury selection day to come up with some decent, more or less decent numbers. But so we don't care. We'll take them to trial.
So if a prospective client of yours gets injured while being a passenger in a taxi, you would take probably more serious cases where you can get potentially much more compensation. Or would you advise anybody who was in a taxi accident to call you anyway?
Absolutely. Look, there's so many details to consider. And look, the way we're different from run-of-the-mill personal injury firms is that we don't mind litigating. All right, it may take longer.
Yeah.
But American Transit does not scare me. We'll go through the whole motion practice. They usually file motion for threshold, motion for summary judgment on liability. That doesn't scare us. We have this.
Gregory, that's a great point. You know, we consider every attorney we take on as a participating attorney in JurisQ. And I had to actually go to your office, meet your staff, and I was very impressed how vast is your staff in terms of experience and numbers. In other words, you have a whole army working for you. So you're not afraid to go to trial against these big insurance companies because you can handle them and handle them well.
Not only we're not afraid, you know, we like trying cases. It's just that
it's important to note that a lot of attorneys don't have litigation.
Love trying cases, but at the end of the day, we work for our client, and when you know a substantial offer is presented to the client, and we explain all the risks and benefits, it's up to the client to decide what he's going to do with it.
Right.
And a lot of times, of course, they take the settlement, and sometimes we go to trial, we get the verdict.
Yep. And you do it well. Gregory,
One quick issue, why it's important to discuss everything with a knowledgeable and experienced attorney, because it's not always so clean cut and so black and white, you know, a driver, a corporation. Sometimes there are multiple layers of corporations, again, especially now with this Amazon and their delivery trucks. And then they get some other firms that do things for them. And sometimes you have municipality involved, and then it's a whole different ball game. So please do yourself a favor. If you're seriously injured, put everything aside. And once you're done, you know, getting help for your urgent medical problems, consult with an attorney.
Right. And one such attorney, one such firm is a firm of Gregory Spektor and Associates. Gregory, thank you very much for your time. Look, you make it sound easy, but really it is not. There's a lot that's involved in terms of research and analyzing a case. You're really breaking it down for us. I appreciate it. And please stay tuned for more questions and more answers from Gregory Spektor and Associates. Gregory, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, it's just, you said you make it sound so simple is because I don't think there is an equivalent for experience, because most of your hypotheticals that you think are hypotheticals, we've done. We've been there. We've done those particular.
I mean, between you and your partners, you have decades of
experience, right? And between all the 10 attorneys that we have working in this firm, I don't even want to know, but it's probably hundreds of years of experience.
Very good. Okay, we're going to see you next time. If anybody has any questions, you can call Gregory Spektor and Associates directly. The number is the bottom of the screen. The website is also on the bottom of the screen. Or you can post your comments below on this post on social media or YouTube. And we're going to try to get attorneys from Gregory Spektor to address your question and to answer you. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Until next time.
Take care. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Bye-bye.